Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down chapter 129 today, Straight Ahead.
And what a title. It's both a command and a philosophy for this crew, a directive given to them by giants, which they immediately adopt as their own creed.
Absolutely. And this is the chapter where two legends, 100 years apart, throw their weapons for the final time to clear a path for the next generation. It is perfect.
A perfect and costly gesture. If you want to help us build a legacy as long as Dorry and Brogy's, find that person in your life who needs to start this story and share the show. It's the best way to get them on board the ship.
Let's get into it. The Little Garden arc closes out and it starts with a bang. Or a gulp.
We open right where we left off. The Straw Hats are sailing away, feeling good. They've said their goodbyes to the giants. They've navigated the treacherous waters, leaving the island. For a moment, it feels like they're home free. And then something appears in front of the ship that Nami mistakes for an island.
An easy mistake to make because it's an island eater. It's a goldfish the size of an island that eats islands. Can we just take a second to appreciate the sheer, unfiltered childhood creativity of that concept? It's just so perfectly Oda. It sounds like something a 6-year-old would invent on the playground, but in this world, it's a real and present danger. The design is so goofy too. It has these dopey vacant eyes and this massive underbite. It's not some terrifying demonic sea king. It's a pet store goldfish that got zapped by a gigantification ray.
That's the balance Oda strikes so masterfully. The concept is whimsical, almost silly, but the scale makes it genuinely horrifying. The consequence, the total and immediate annihilation of your ship and everyone on it, is very, very real. It's a classic Grand Line welcome mat. Oh, you survived the primeval jungle with dinosaurs and scheming bounty hunters? Congratulations! Now here's a fish that eats land masses. Good luck.
And the crew's reaction is split right down the middle, which tells you everything. Nami is the voice of reason. She's the audience surrogate. She is screaming, "Turn the ship around," which is, what any sane person on planet Earth would do. She's looking at certain death.
Nami is very reasonably screaming to turn the ship around, but Luffy and Usopp are standing at the helm completely resolute. They've got this grim, determined look on their faces. They are not budging.
And I love this so much. This is the lesson of Little Garden paying off immediately. It's not just about being strong, it's about being honorable. The giants, these legendary warriors they respect more than anyone, told them to go straight. So they are going to go straight, no matter what. It's about trust. It's about honor. It's a promise made to men they might never see again, and they would rather die to break it.
It's the warrior spirit Usopp was so taken with. Just a few chapters ago, he was ready to abandon everyone and run for his life. He was paralyzed by fear. Now he's standing shoulder to shoulder with his captain, sailing directly into the gaping maw of a continent-sized fish. He's not just pretending anymore. He's embodying it. He has complete, almost terrifying faith in the giant's parting words. This is maybe the bravest thing we've ever seen Usopp do.
They sail right into the monster's mouth, the whole ship. And from Nami's perspective, this is an absolute nightmare. The jaws are closing, the light is fading. It's the end. But from Luffy and Usopp's perspective, it's the only path forward. It's a leap of faith in the most literal sense possible.
Okay, but think about what this means for Usopp specifically. We need to dig deeper here because it's a cornerstone moment for him. He spent his whole life telling tall tales to his village, Takaya, and one of his go-to lies back in Syrup Village was about fighting a giant island-sized goldfish.
Bro, I didn't even put that together. You're right. He didn't just say he fought one. He told Kaya a story about a goldfish whose poop was so big he mistook it for an island. And now he's face to face with the island eater. It's like the Grand Line heard his lie and said, "Close enough, let's make it real." He lied his way into reality again. The Grand Line is just making all his craziest stories come true one by one.
It's a recurring theme with him, and I don't think it's a coincidence. I've always had a bit of a personal theory that Usopp's lies aren't just fabrications. They're almost a form of prophecy. The most outlandish things he says have a strange habit of manifesting in the real world. He claimed to have 8,000 followers, and in Dressrosa, he's hailed as a god by thousands of tontatas. He tells a story about a giant mole in Kaya's garden, and he ends up fighting Miss Merry Christmas, the mole fruit user. The line between his lies and his destiny is getting thinner and thinner.
So you're saying God Usopp isn't just a nickname he gets later, it's basically his job description. He's accidentally speaking his future into existence? That is a super deep cut, Robin, and I am here for it. That makes this moment even more powerful. He's not just facing a monster, he's facing his own imagination made real.
While they're getting swallowed, we cut back to Dorry and Brogy on Little Garden, watching it all happen, and their reaction is so telling.
Yeah, they're not surprised. They're not panicked. They're not yelling, "Oh no, the kids." They just look at each other and nod. This calm, knowing look. They knew this would happen. This was part of their plan.
They remember the last time they saw a beast like this one. They're having this shared flashback, and you just see this look of understanding pass between them. After 100 years of trying to kill each other every single day, they are still perfectly in sync. They don't need to speak. A single glance conveys the entire plan.
Oda's paneling here is magnificent. The tension of the ship being swallowed, then the cut to the giants in total silence. It makes their next action feel earth-shattering.
They pick up what's left of their weapons, the Terry sword and the bruiser axe. These are the very weapons they've been using to fight each other for a century. They are chipped, broken, barely held together. They are symbols of their endless, prideful stalemate.
And they just rear back with all of their might, side by side, and they throw them. They hurl them across the sea, putting every ounce of their strength, their pride, their will, 100 years of pent-up warrior spirit into this one final combined attack.
The attack is incredible. It's a blast of pure energy, a shockwave that travels for miles across the ocean. It pierces the giant goldfish clean through its stomach and blows a hole out the other side for the Going Merry to escape through. It's a force of nature.
It is one of the most heroic moments we've seen yet in the entire series. It's a pure, selfless act of unbelievable power. They sacrificed their legendary weapons, the tools of their 100-year duel, the very extensions of their souls, to save these kids they just met a couple of days ago, for no other reason than they saw a bit of themselves in them. That is just super.
It's the ultimate act of passing the torch. Their own journey is stagnant. They can't leave their island because of their duel, but they can use the very symbols of that stagnation to clear the path for those who can move forward. Our fight may be eternal, but yours has just begun. Go.
And the weapons are destroyed in the attack. They shatter into 1,000,000 pieces. 100 years of history gone in an instant to save their new friends. That's the kind of loyalty that built Roger's crew. It's the kind of loyalty Luffy inspires in people. He meets these two legendary warriors, and within days, they're willing to sacrifice their most prized possessions for him.
It also gives us a terrifying glimpse into the true power of Elbaf. This wasn't a named technique they had practiced. This wasn't some special ultimate move. It was just two giants throwing their broken weapons in unison, and it had the force of a cannonball the size of a mountain.
Exactly. Imagine what a real, coordinated attack from an army of giants would look like. Imagine a full Elbaf spear volley. No wonder the world government seems to leave them alone. You can't fight that. You just can't.
The cost is significant, though. Their weapons are gone. The very things they use to measure their strength against each other, the excuse for their daily ritual, no longer exist. What does their duel even look like now? For a moment, it feels like it might be over.
I think it's pure now. It's not about the Terry sword versus the bruiser axe anymore. It's just about Dorry versus Brogy, their pride as warriors. And after that combined attack, you can tell their bond is stronger than ever. They just reaffirmed their partnership.
As they watch the Straw Hats sail away into the new hole they've created in the horizon, we get the flashback we've been waiting for, the reason for the 100-year feud.
And it is the most Elbath thing imaginable. It's so petty and so perfect. We're all gearing up for some epic tragic betrayal, right? Like one of them dishonored their captain, or a deep philosophical rift.
Something worthy of a century of bloodshed, a stolen treasure, a terrible insult, a disagreement over the very nature of being a warrior.
Nope! They were leaders of the giant warrior pirates. They come home from a hunt, and someone on Elbath asks them whose catch was bigger.
And that's it. That's the entire reason. They both caught enormous sea beasts, and they got into an argument over whose was marginally larger. An argument that spiraled into a 100-year war on a forgotten island in the Grand Line.
I love it. It's so perfect. It's not some deep-seated betrayal. It's just pure, uncut warrior pride. Mine's bigger. No, mine's bigger. For a century straight. It's absolutely hilarious. And at the same time, it's completely epic because they take it so seriously. It makes them so much more human, so much more lovable.
It tells you everything you need to know about the culture of Elbath. Pride is not just a virtue, it is the central pillar of their existence. An unresolved challenge to that pride, no matter how objectively trivial, is a debt that must be settled. The argument stopped being about the sea beasts 5 minutes after it started. For the next 100 years, it was about the principle of the matter.
And then Oda gives us that chilling zoom out. We see the mountains on Little Garden. They're not mountains.
They're not mountains. They're the sun-bleached skeletons of the sea beasts they and other creatures have killed over the years. That panel, where the camera pulls back to reveal the island is a boneyard, is one of my favorites from the early series. It completely recontextualizes everything.
That recontextualizes everything. They've been living and fighting in a graveyard this whole time, a monument to their own stubbornness and the island's brutality.
It also explains the name, Little Garden. It's not just a cute name because it has small-scale versions of big things. It's a contained world where giants can hunt beasts that would otherwise rule the seas. It's a prehistoric terrarium, a microcosm of a savage world, sealed off by the Grand Line. They're fighting amidst the ghosts of their past victories. It's beautiful and deeply tragic.
So they're standing there, feeling nostalgic, their weapons are gone, maybe thinking the duel is finally over, and then the volcano erupts, right on cue.
Right on schedule, as it has every day for 100 years, signifying it's time for their daily battle.
And they just look at each other and start laughing. This huge, booming laughter. Of course it's not over. It was never about the weapons. It was about their honor. They just grab their shields and run off to fight again. Their bond is unbreakable.
Their laughter is the perfect ending to their story in this arc. Nothing has changed, and yet everything has. They found new friends worthy of their respect. They performed one last great feat of strength together, and now they can return to their simple, violent, joyous routine.
Back on the Going Merry, everyone is celebrating. They're free. They just sailed through the belly of the beast. And Usopp, man, Usopp is looking out at the horizon with this fire in his eyes we've never seen before.
He makes a declaration, a solemn vow to himself and to the sea. He says one day he's going to go to Elbath. He's going to be a brave warrior of the sea.
This is it. This is the moment his dream solidifies. Before, he just wanted to be a brave warrior in a vague, undefined sense. What does that even mean? How do you know when you've achieved it? Now he has a destination, a goal, a mecca for warriors that he wants to prove himself worthy of. This trip changed him more than anyone.
He saw his ideal, his ultimate form in Dorry and Brogy, their strength, their honor, their unwavering pride. And now he has a path to follow. It's the first time one of the crew's dreams has been tied to a specific, tangible place he needs to reach. Luffy wants the One Piece, a legendary treasure. Zoro wants to beat Mihawk, a person. Sanji was the All Blue, a mythical sea. Usopp now has a country he needs to visit to fulfill his dream. It makes us, the readers, immediately invested in the idea of Elbath.
While he's having his big character moment, the rest of the crew is just being the crew. Nami is exhausted and asks Vivi to take the helm for a bit.
Which is a nice character beat for Vivi, too. She's not a passenger anymore. She's an active part of the crew, taking on responsibilities, steering the ship. She even has a little flashback to Igaram telling her that her life is what matters most, that she has to survive. This journey is forcing her to grow, to rely on others, and to contribute in ways she never expected.
And Sanji is doing what Sanji does best, bringing out a huge lunch for everyone. The peace is restored, the storm is over, time to eat.
For everyone except Zoro.
Yeah, Zoro's in his own world. While everyone else is eating and celebrating their victory, he's lifting his ridiculously heavy weights, pushing himself, sweat pouring down his face.
He says he's gotten weak from lack of practice. He feels like he's falling behind.
Which is classic Zoro. This is the guy who nearly died fighting the world's greatest swordsman, took down half of Baroque Works and Whiskey Peak, and he thinks he's getting soft because he sat on a dinosaur for a day. The man's drive is just on another level. He sees a moment of peace as a moment he's not improving, and that's unacceptable to him.
But then he says something very specific. It's not just a vague desire to get stronger. He says he has to get stronger, strong enough to cut steel.
Ooh, that's not a random goal. That is a direct response to his failure against Mihawk at the Bharati. He couldn't cut the world's strongest swordsman. His own swords shattered against Mihawk's black blade. He has identified a tangible barrier between his current level and the level he needs to be. He needs to be able to cut anything, and steel is the next benchmark.
This is Oda planting a seed that is going to bear fruit very, very soon. He's laying the groundwork for Zoro's next major fight in Erebath. He's telling us, the audience, exactly what obstacles Zoro needs to overcome. It's masterclass setup. He's loading the gun and showing it to us, and we're just waiting for him to fire.
While the crew is having their moment of peace and goal setting, we cut away to see that the world isn't waiting for them. We get our first glimpse of Mr. 2.
He's on his ship, surrounded by his subordinates, and he's clearly annoyed. He's been given orders by the boss, by Crocodile, to go to Little Garden.
His mission? To find Mr. 3 and kill him for his failure. Not demote him, not bring him back for a performance review. Kill him.
This tells you everything you need to know about how Crocodile runs his organization. There are no second chances. You fail a mission of that magnitude, you don't just get demoted, you get eliminated. It establishes the terrifying ruthlessness of Baroque Works' upper echelon.
And the person they send to do the eliminating is Mr. 2. He's the cleaner. That immediately tells you he's on a whole other level of strength and importance compared to Mr. 3 and Miss Golden Week. The enemy is escalating.
The Straw Hats just barely escaped one trap, and Crocodile's next strongest agent is already on his way to their last known location. The danger is not gone, it's just closing in from a different direction. They think they're sailing towards the next adventure, but their past is already chasing them.
And right as we're processing that, we cut back to the Mary for the final beat of the chapter. They're all eating, laughing, Sanji's serving food, Luffy's stealing it. It's a perfect moment of found family. And in the middle of it all, Nami just collapses.
She's burning up, a dangerously high fever that came on in an instant. This is serious.
No, not Nami. She's the navigator. She's the one who holds everything together, who keeps them on course. She's the brain of the operation. Without her, they are literally lost at sea.
This isn't a common cold. They've just been on a prehistoric island full of strange plants and giant venomous insects. She's contracted something from the Grand Line, a disease their bodies have no immunity to.
And they have no doctor. This is it. This is the bill coming due for the one critical role they haven't filled. They have a cook, a swordsman, a sniper, a navigator, and a captain, but no one who knows medicine. This is their biggest weakness as a crew, and it just came crashing down on them at the worst possible time.
This is the end of the Little Garden arc, a huge, explosive, triumphant finale, followed by a quiet, terrifying moment of dread. Okay, before we get to predictions, if this chapter gave you chills, drop a comment and let us know your favorite moment. Was it the Hakoku, the reason for the duel, Usopp's vow? And hit that like button to send some good energy Nami's way. She needs it.
She really does. All right, predictions for chapter 130. What do you have? Okay, prediction 1. They're going to immediately divert. This is the first major test of Luffy's captaincy when it comes to a crewmate's life versus the mission at hand. Vivi is going to have to make the hard call that saving Nami is more important than the race to Arabasta. Their next destination isn't a kingdom at war, it's the nearest island that might have a doctor.
That seems like a safe bet. My first prediction is related. Nami's illness will be identified as something very specific and rare, maybe from a bite from one of the ancient insects on Little Garden that was known to be extinct. It will be a disease that a normal doctor can't cure, forcing them to find a specialist, a miracle worker. This will set the stage for finding a truly exceptional doctor for the crew.
I like that. It raises the stakes even more. It's not just any doctor, they need the right doctor. My second prediction is about Mr. 2. He's going to get to Little Garden and find Mr. 3 and Miss Goldenweek gone. But I think he finds some clue they left behind. Maybe one of Miss Goldenweek's paintings or Mr. 3's wax creations that gives him a heading for the Straw Hats. He's not going to give up the chase. He'll be on their tail, a constant, unseen threat.
That's a good one. It keeps the Baroque works plotline moving in the background. My final prediction is that the next chapter will open with the crew in a state of controlled panic. Luffy will try to do something stupid to help, like dump seawater on Nami to cool her down. Sanji and Usopp will be freaking out, feeling useless, and Zoro and Vivi will be the ones to take charge and try to figure out a logical plan, with Vivi using her royal knowledge of the Grand Line's geography to pinpoint a potential island with the doctor, setting the course for this new, desperate destination.